on the most sophisticated two-wheel dirt machines in the world. But that's what we always get when we come to Carlsbad, California for the CMC Golden State Nationals. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans. Just finishing up their final qualifying are the brutes of motocross, the 500cc pros. Now, these are the heaviest machines in the sport, over 220 pounds. Also the most powerful, over 60 horsepower. Make a mistake with one of those beauties and it'll try to ride you. Now, the other half of today's story is the opposite end of the motocross spectrum. Down at the starting gate for more on that, all page.
Well, Steve, if the 500cc bikes are high power and serious, these are the 125cc's, and they are just flat fun to ride. So fun, in fact, that there are only 40 riders here at Carlsbad today. And this is a category that a long-time veteran or pro will come down and ride just for the fun of it. It's a bike that you can throw around. You stay all the way on the throttle, all the way into the corner. Shut her down, go through the corner, and then fire up again. They are a treat to ride.
And this is the final race in an ongoing series. It has run the length and breadth of California. Here's some of the key riders to watch today. Number 14, mounted on a Kawasaki, that is Colin Boland. He's from Sacramento, California. You can always tell the team Kawasaki's, the bikes are green. Mounted on a white factory Yamaha is number 26, Michael Craig. He's from nearby El Cajon, California, a small community that has turned out about a dozen top motocross racers.
And the Kajivas are white bikes as well. On a factory Kajiva is 20-year-old Mike Young, number 2. He comes out of Rancho Cucamonga, California, not far from here, and is one of the representatives of the fantastic California contingent. And representing the international set on 64J is the Brit James Dobb from Nottingham, England. He's made his reputation riding 125cc Grand Prix bikes.
Okay, we're told the course is clear of the 500cc machines we saw earlier. It is time for the first of two motos, the 125 pros. Everybody concentrating on that starting gate as it falls towards them. If you try to anticipate the gate, well, you can just impale the motorcycle on it.
And over in the first slot on number 38, the factory KTM, there's Mike Healy. The line is ready. They're all moving up to the gate. They'll be running the course in reverse today as the gate drops. And over 40 bikes, the 125cc scream for the first turn. Billy Whitley on 56 jumps into the lead.
And falling in behind Whitley is number 360, Denny Stevenson from Omaha, Nebraska, on a Kawasaki. In the third slot is Jaron Hoffman on his Suzuki number 37.
Few of the riders in the back got boxed up in the first corner, but everybody's up and riding. Whitley continues his lead, but now being challenged by Denny Stevenson on 360. Stevenson closes in just a bit. Mike Young rides in third.
And already we can see how tough this Carlsbad course is in either direction. Tremendous athletic ability required to be a CMC pro motocross rider.
The Kajiva out in front, Whitley on board. Being followed in second place by Stevenson. Now he's a privateer on a Kawasaki. And the third place is another Kajiva, that's number 2, Mike Young. So first, second, and third ride together. A battle for fourth begins between DeMaria and Hall. And we look back into the field. There on number 18 is Todd DeHoop. He is beginning to battle with number 47, that's Jeff Emick. It's a fight for 7th.
And the Italian-built Kajiva bike really showing its strength here in the early laps, running first and third. Billy Whitley at the lead. Mike Young also the Kajiva back in third spot. And sandwiched in the middle, Denny Stevenson, number 360 on the green cow.
And Whitley's got the lead, but Mike Young moves by on the inside. So now it's Kajiva 1-2. But still contending there is the 360 bike. That's the Kawasaki of privateer Denny Stevenson. It's a fight at the front of this field as they work their way around the Carlsbad course. Now, Stevenson again tries on the inside and gets past Young. Young drops back into third place. The fight continues at the front.
And look at the French rider, Yves Demaria, number 22D. He is going to challenge number 2, Mike Young, to that third position. One of the most impressive rides by a European we have seen in the years we have covered the Golden State National.
And Demaria gets past Young, picks up third place as the riders come around to complete the first lap here at Carlsbad. Out in front of the field, it's still Billy Whitley on the Kajiva. Demaria really challenged his way up through the field. But take a look at the front of the field as here comes Denny Stevenson. He works his way around Whitley and picks up the lead. Demaria closes in from third.
A very intelligent, well-planned pass by the man from Omaha, Denny Stevenson on the 360 cow. The race for third. What a war there. 47J Jeff Emick putting the pressure on the Frenchman Demaria.
A terrific pass by Jeff Emig as he moves into third place, and Young gets around DeMaria. So now Young has fourth. DeMaria falls back to fifth. Out in front, it's still Denny Stevenson. Then in second place is Billy Whitley on the Cajiva. They've separated themselves, but there is a charging Jeff Emig on 47. Now coming up to challenge Whitley. And Emig comes to the inside. Little different line than Whitley as he pulls alongside and picks up second place. Now setting his sights on Denny Stevenson, the leader.
Well, even though this is a 12-lap affair on a very long racetrack, obviously, Paul, nobody is pacing themselves. It's go for it the entire event.
And Young forces his nose down in there and picks up third place. Nice three-way battle. Young on the number 2 machine, the 56 machine of Billy Whitley and DeMaria all fighting it out as Whitley and DeMaria running side by side for fourth now. Now it is Whitley that moves into fourth place. DeMaria drops back just a bit.
But DeMaria has a perfect line here to maybe recapture fourth, and he does, mainly because it appeared that Billy Whitley bobbled it, maybe missed a gear.
Whitley definitely hesitated, and as a result has dropped well back. At the front of this field is Denny Stevenson as action continues in the 125cc bikes from Carlsbad. We'll be back.
Cruise ship, the Vista Fjord, has come to port. The distinctive orange and black stacks tell experienced mariners that she's part of the Cunard line, famous for the Queen Mary, the Queen Elizabeth, the QE2. But right now, our attention switches to Carlsbad Raceway, about 20 miles away, as we continue the 125 Pro Class with Kawasaki-mounted Denny Stevenson, bike number 360, still out front.
Well, Steve, we take a look at the leaderboard, but I suspect that this is only temporary because it's been a wonderful fight at the front of the field. It is Denny Stevenson on 360 out in front at the moment as he climbs the hill. But look at Jeff Emig closing down behind him. Jeff has roared up through the field. He got a bad start and fell back in the top 10, but now look, he comes up to challenge Denny Stevenson on the inside. Emig neck and neck with Stevenson, and now Jeff Emig pushes his way past, and Emig picks up the lead. A tremendous run to come up. Mike Young now comes up to challenge Denny Stevenson for second.
Jeff Emig can not only ride these motorcycles, Paul, he can fly them as well. He actually changed lines in midair to set up that pass on Denny Stevenson. He's a support rider from Independence, Missouri, but it's rides like this that could lead to full factory sponsorship. What an effort.
Emig on the Kawasaki. Look at him begin to pull away from Stevenson now, and Stevenson has managed, for the moment at least, to separate himself from Mike Young. Though at any one corner, they'll close down on one another. There's Young on number 2. The Cajiva riding in third place.
And here we can see the interval all the way back to fourth. In fourth, 22D, the Yamaha, the Frenchman DeMaria. So first through fourth, not that far apart with a long ways to go.
The front of the field begins to separate just a bit. The 22 bike, that is DeMaria. DeMaria rides alone. Jeff Emig back at the front of the field, separating himself, and now beginning to pull slightly away. So he's laying down just a little bit faster a lap than the rest of the field. And Denny Stevenson rides in second place now. He has a new technological development he hopes will help him greatly.
Low-profile tires. Nothing new in the automotive world, brand new in the motocross world. Number 360, Jeff Stevenson, is the first to try a low-profile tire in this class. Take a look. Now, what they've done is gone from an 18-inch wheel like this to a 19-inch wheel like this. But the ride height is exactly the same, because look how much lower profile this tire is than the old tire. Couple of advantages. You see where the knobs are here. They're really closer to the dirt. When you lean into a turn, you're going to have a better chance of making contact with these knobs than when they're up higher on the tire. One other thing, much lower profile. You don't have the sidewall flex that you have in the old tire. And another advantage here, especially in what they call like stutter bumps, bumps that are 6-7 inches high and real close together, under braking. You don't have the tire springing on you and fighting the braking action with a lower profile tire. One disadvantage that they point out, with a lower profile tire, if you get into rocks, you don't have the protection. The distance from the top of the tire to the rim, it's easier to bend or break a wheel. But they feel that the handling characteristics of the low profile tire are more than offset any risk of breaking a wheel.
Well, the concept seems to be working for Denny Stevenson on 360 at the moment. He is riding in second place, but closing down and beginning to challenge is the number 2 machine. That is Mike Young. Now, Mike has been able to close up on the back of Stevenson from time to time, but Stevenson has really been able to hold his own through most of the course and continues to hold on to second place.
But if you're looking for handlebar-to-handlebar action, you've got to go back to 23rd spot. There is Canadian Cody Eclair on 43C, battling with Dino Cowan, and going wide as Eclair and into the bank over the bars, but he appears to be okay. That did allow Arizona Dino Cowan on 286 to take that 23rd spot.
Well, the young Canadian now pulls his bike free of the fence, tries to get it started again. It's running, and so he goes back into the action. But you can imagine, once that sort of thing happens to you, suddenly your spirit's down a little bit. All that you had is now lost. Here in the replay, the two riders coming into the corner again. Watch Leclerc now as he just reaches down, grabs the brake, the back end locks up, and takes him into the edge of the barrier.
But the young Canadian came to California to run this series for experience and seasoning. You can bet when he goes home, he'll be tougher than ever on the local competition.
And fortunately, he was not injured back into the competition. We take a look now at Demaria, number 22, who is currently riding in 5th because Todd DeHoop has managed to come up and pick up 4th place. DeHoop moving his way up through the field.
But with his sights set on Demaria is number 26, Michael Craig, a full factory Yamaha rider. And in the 7th spot, just behind Craig, is a Suzuki-mounted Mike Pasquarello, number 36.
Here comes Michael Craig now on the challenge of the 22 machine of Demaria. Craig comes to the outside, slides down to the inside, and picks up the position. So now Craig moves into 5th place as Demaria, who is at the beginning of battling with the leaders, begins to slide backward down through the field now. Michael Craig moving his way forward. Demaria will now have to handle the challenge of Pasquarello as well, as Pasquarello begins to move in and challenge the 22 machine of the Frenchman Demaria.
And here is that race for the 6th position. 22D Demaria, 36 Mike Pasquarello.
And Pasquarello tries to set up to the outside, but Demaria is able to accelerate away as Demaria uses a slightly different line than Pasquarello. Now Pasquarello closing once again. He's right down behind Demaria, and Demaria again, after acceleration, gets away just a little bit.
What we're starting to see here now, Paul, is riders like Michael Craig, the factory Yamaha star, who've got a bad start, starting to make up for that and move up through the field.
Pasquarello closes again on Demaria. The battle is for 6th place as Pasquarello right behind Demaria now. You can see Pasquarello using a little different line approach to almost every corner. He comes up on the inside once again, trying to force Demaria to the outside.
And the Yamaha and the Suzuki motorcycles seem to be perfectly matched. The difference is the rider. Their brains, their physical conditioning, and trying to go to the outside. And Pasquarello, that doesn't work. He falls in behind Demaria one more time. Now he's going to try a different approach.
Pasquarello now sets himself up behind Demaria, tries the outside here. For the most part, he's been trying to force to the inside, but it really hasn't gotten done as Demaria has managed to slam the door on him every time he's tried. Now here comes Pasquarello coming off the corner wide. He tends to let the back end of the bike go coming off the fast corners. Now he pulls up, gets alongside Demaria for the moment, and Pasquarello moves into 6th place. Demaria falls further backwards.
Demaria did everything possible to defend that position. He just got outridden.
So the action continues at the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals, the 125cc class from Carlsbad. We'll be right back.
Carlsbad Raceway in Southern California. Tremendous action in the closing laps of this 125cc Pro Moto. And on the move is Michael Craig, the white Yamaha rider, number 26, and he is by Mike Young on the Cajiva. Takes over that 4th position. He's moving up. It is their time.
Well, Craig just absolutely lined up Young and found his opportunity and roared past. And now he begins to pull away from Young. Young, who is using a little different line that in the past has given him some nice acceleration, but now does not appear to be working. We look at the top 5. Emick still leads, followed by Stevenson, DeHoop, Michael Craig, who just moved into 4th place, and then Mike Young. But Mike Craig is coming down behind the 18 machine of DeHoop.
Oh, no question about it, Paul. Number 26, Michael Craig. He is the rider to watch right now. He wants to get as good a finish as possible, so for the second motor, maybe he'll get a better start, win that, and still take the thing overall. Look at him move up on that Yamaha.
The 18 machine, the multicolor rider's leathers there, is DeHoop, but Craig is right back. DeHoop looks around and says, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. It's a fight for third place now as Craig tries the inside of DeHoop. DeHoop shuts the door on him, but Craig might get a little better run off of this corner, and Craig has had good acceleration throughout the day.
Indeed he has, and here he shows that horsepower. Oh, what a beautiful move as he dove inside of DeHoop. He just tricked him there. DeHoop looked over the wrong shoulder.
Good strategy, good technique, as Craig now moves into third place. DeHoop back to fourth. The leader is still Jeff Emig. Emig is followed by Stevenson. We enter the last lap now. Craig still has an opportunity to close up and challenge at the front of the field, as Michael Craig now has his target as Stevenson, and he pulls alongside, and Craig just simply blows Stevenson away for second place. DeHoop tries to get Stevenson as well, but Stevenson maintains third place. DeHoop back in fourth. Michael Craig now has second. Can he catch Jeff Emig in the lead? As there goes DeHoop getting past Stevenson as well. Once Stevenson was passed, it seemed like it demoralized him.
Well, you can tell it's the last lap. Everybody taking some chances they might not have earlier in the race, trying to just pick up one more position, just a few more points.
There's Todd DeHoop, and here comes a fight now as Young gets past Stevenson. Stevenson continues to fall further backwards. So Stevenson, who was in a great position when this lap started, has now fallen back 3 places as Mike Young charges on.
Young currently in the 4th position, but it's here, the closing moments of these races, that the arms start to tighten up. You can barely hold on to the handlebars. Your legs are just worn out from staying up on the pegs, trying to use your body as a shock absorber. Conditioning really paying off here.
You know, there is a lot of research that demonstrates that these motocross riders are among the finest athletes, if not the best conditioned athletes in the world. The 47 Kawasaki, Jeff Emig, the rider, as he comes through the final corner, heading now for the checkered flag. And the young man from Independence, Missouri, can now see that flag just ahead. There it is. Jeff Emig has won here in the 125 cc's at Carlsbad.
Well, the race may be over for Emig, but not back in the pack. Here's a terrific fight for the 11th position. The red Honda of Paul Blatt trying to hold that position against Brian Pryor, mounted on the Suzuki from Phoenix, Arizona. There is Pryor, the second rider in your picture. This again for the 11th position. The red Honda of Paul Blatt using his foot like a rudder, trying to hang on to position as they near the finish flag.
You know, it's a nice tribute to these young men. Here's a fight for 11th place that, except for a few points, doesn't have a great deal of significance, and yet they're going to give it everything that they have all the way to the checkered flag. As the race now being flagged for everyone on the course, we started with over 40 bikes, and it was Jeff Emig that was able to move himself up to the front of the field, followed by Michael Craig, Todd DeHoop, Mike Young, and Denny Stevenson.
So Emig, who last year we saw as a mini bike rider, has made a tremendous transition to the pros. He's got the most points, but as you can see, with a better effort in the second moto, Craig DeHoop or Young could overhaul him. Right now, let's go to Paul Page.
Well, here's your winner, Jeff Emig. It looks like once you really got away that it was cruising with no problem at all.
Yeah, the only problem I had was with a little bit of lappers, but still managed to get through them.
New course configuration, does that throw you at all?
Well, yeah, kind of. It changes your rhythm a little bit, and you have to get your lines picked again, all new lines.
So is that a tougher situation when you come up on those back markers?
Yeah, it's a lot tougher. When you have to go around the lappers, it takes you out of your line that you've already figured, and you have to make another line.
All right, there's your winner, Jeff Emig. Let's go to second place and Steve Evans.
Well, Paul, as you well know, Michael Craig did everything he could to gather up that green machine, but it just wasn't going to happen in that first moto.
Well, I got a bad start. A couple guys hit me, and he kind of had it. He was out by himself, kind of playing it easy. I had to fight my way around everybody. Use all my tear-offs, had the mud. Kind of hard to see out there, but trying to get the championship, keep from falling. He got first. I mean, next moto, that's where it matters, so don't really bother me now.
You know, tell me about the start. It's more difficult, I think, in this reverse direction. Those first 3 turns, everybody is packed together.
Yeah, now because the sport's getting harder, more people are wanting more. I think the starting gate that way is good, but there's still a lot of people jumping the gate. And I think it's bad news right there.
Okay, well, best of luck in the second moto. You could win it overall.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, Paul?
Well, Steve, the 125cc race is over, but not the action here at Carlsbad, because it's the 500cc's on the line. There is Scott Brown on the number 66 Privateer Kawasaki. He will ride today with a broken ankle. The rest of the 500cc riders all firing up now,
including this young man from Boise, Idaho, who hopes someday to make motocross racing a career. Riding a Honda H37, this is Jeff Hicks, and some people think he's got that kind of talent, Paul.
And alongside is the number 28 machine, and that belongs to Greg Zitterkoff. He is on an ATK. Now, that bike is built in the United States, in fact, in Orange County, not all that far from here at Carlsbad. And then there is the number 38 machine, and it belongs to Mike Healy. Now, we saw Mike Healy racing in the 125cc race. He is on the Austrian KTM bike. Earlier, Steve took a look at this machine.
You might remember that young man, Mike Healy. He has been one of the real heroes for us here at Carlsbad. And the past 2 years, he rode a very interesting machine, the Italian-built Cagiva. Well, Mike, his contract was up with Cagiva. He's a free agent, right? KTM, the Austrian firm, hired Mike to ride their beautiful bikes. And Mike said it's a very easy transition from European bike to European bike. Had he gone to a Japanese bike, well, that might have been something different, because the European bikes all tend to sit a little bit higher, have a little more distance between the seat and the pegs, and a little more distance from the seat to the handlebars. But that's no problem for a guy with long arms like Mike Healy. Mike says he is so comfortable with the KTM that in today's 500 class, he is going to ride a KTM 350, even though he has a 500 KTM. He said, quite honestly, the 500 has so much power that he's just not comfortable with it. And even though he'll give up a little bit of suds going on the uphill, he figures with a more manageable power, he'll make it up on the downhill.
Well, Mike Healy finished 38th in the 125cc run. Now, everyone is ready for the 500s. We'll be back.
The fact that you can still find wildlife like this cute little guy in San Diego County is really no surprise. It's the location of the squirrel. He is right in the harbor in the shadow of the USS Ranger aircraft carrier, one of 2 giant carriers in port today. And sailors on shore leave that haven't crossed the border for the pleasures of Tijuana might very well be in the crowd here today at Carlsbad Raceway. The 500cc pros are at the gate.
Some of the big names in the sport, those in the fight for the championship here. 66, Scott Brown, number 28, Greg Zitterkoff. The 29 machine, that's Brian Manley, Derek Brown on 425, and Tim McClintock on 78. Numbers and names to watch throughout this run. Now, all eyes on the gate. The gate drops, and the riders head for the first turn as they begin to narrow down these 500cc bikes.
The starter just barely getting out of the way of the thundering herd as they enter the left-hander turn number. Oh, and we've got some riders down right in the middle of the pack, the worst place you can fall.
The 38 machine, that's Mike Healy. He gets it up. Greg Zitterkoff, that's the 28 machine, but one rider struggling to his feet. That looks to be Hicks, and he's got some problem. On the course, the rest of the field continuing on with Scott Brown on number 66 in the lead, followed by Derek Brown. But back at the start, Jeff Hicks definitely is hurt. Now some assistance coming over to him, and they'll give him what help they can, but it looks like Hicks is out on the very first turn. The fight for the lead here. Brown and Brown out in front is the 66 bike of Scott Brown being chased by Derek. The 54 machine is Corey Schweitzer as he is chasing the leaders.
And for the 6th position, number 78, Tim McClintock. That's the red Honda, and he is getting an awful lot of pressure from number 1, Sean Conley on the Kawasaki.
A three-way battle for 6th place as they work their way around the circuit. Now coming down the hill. And look at Sean throw that number 1 machine around. And now that battle begins to string out just a bit. The battle for 6th place. And Mike Brown on number 101, currently running 8th. Almost drops the bike as he comes through that corner.
And Paul, even visually, we can see how much more difficult these 500 machines are to ride. A lot more weight, a lot more power, and something else you have to deal with, what the riders call the roost. They have so much power, they're continually turning that rear wheel. There's a rooster tail of dirt and stones that can be very painful if you get behind a couple of them.
We look now back up to the front of the field. There's the 66 machine belonging to Scott Brown. He is being chased now by Derek Brown, but closing in third is the 29 machine of Brian Manley. Manley running in third. The Kawasaki's running first and second. Now, here comes Derek Brown up to challenge for the lead. Manley closing in from third place. The fight is at the front of the field. Derek Brown trying to catch Scott Brown, who is currently the leader on number 66. You get a good look at young Derek Brown there. Challenging for the lead, trying to take it away from number 66. That's Scott Brown.
Kawasaki right now enjoying 1, 2, 3. But that is no doubt due to Jeff Hicks for Honda falling in that opening lap. Also, Mike Healy on the KTM went down, and Zinnerkopf on the ATK. So 3 of the prime challengers, the Team Green, are back in the packaways trying to move up.
And Brian Manley comes up to challenge for second place. He gets alongside the outside of Derek Brown, gets pushed high. Now he begins to accelerate. It's Derek Brown and Manley moves past and picks up second. Now he is chasing Scott Brown for the lead.
And even though he went down, Mike Healy remounted that KTM, and here we see him marching through the field. He just took Mike Hooker, number 19, for the 9th spot and is closing on 101 Mike Brown, who bobbled earlier.
So Mike Healy trying to make up the distance. He dropped the bike and was actually out of the event for 15, 20 seconds. That pushed him way back in the field at the start of this run. Now he has to use whatever skill and power he has to work his way back up through the field. We're at the front of the field once again. The 66 machine of Scott Brown now being chased by Manley. Derek Brown rides back in third as Manley closes in on Brown. Both Kawasaki's being thrown all over this course. And as Steve mentioned, Kawasaki running 1, 2, and 3 at the moment as Manley pulls up alongside for just a second. Brown tries to hold him off. Scott Brown is the leader on 66, but Brian Manley closes once again. Now Manley drops back, trying to feel out Brown for the lead, trying to find where he does, in fact, place that machine.
And let's remember that the man on the move, number 38, Mike Healy, is on a 350cc machine. He has gotten around number 1, Sean Conley, for 7th, and Tim McClintock, number 78, for the 6th position. Wow, Healy is really cooking.
You know, that demonstrates an interesting attitude in riding, that the rider, in this case Mike Healy, is so good and understands the power of the machine so well that he decides the 350cc bike is one that is more efficient for him. He's currently running 6th after dropping the bike on the first corner, and that power, 350 cc's, in a race designed for 500s, really is working well here at Carlsbad.
Well, a surplus of power on a dry racetrack can be a big disadvantage, and here we've got some combat for the lead, and smoking by Scott Brown is number 29, Brian Manley.
Brian Manley has been parading his way up through this field, working his way up, now picking up the front position, but it is still a Kawasaki battle, as Brian Manley, who was actually off of the first corner riding about 7th, was able to work his way up past all of those bikes in front of him, finally getting Scott Brown and picking up the lead. But Scott Brown would love to get it back as he now tries to challenge Manley down on the inside, but for the time being can only settle for second place.
Checking with the CMC officials, we find out that Jeff Hicks, who is currently walking in fistula pain back to his pit, has cut a few fingers. He's going to require some medical attention, but he'll be right back on the motorcycle in the weeks to come.
So the action continues in the 500 cc's with Brian Manley in front.
Continue here at the 500cc Pro Class at Carlsbad Raceway. The Honda and the KTM going at it this time for the 5th position. Number 54C, Corey Schweitzer, and 38, Mike Healy on the KTM, who after his fall has moved up a number of positions. A terrific effort.
But you know, Steve, as we were looking at that leaderboard, Manley, Scott Brown, Derek Brown, all on Kawasaki's, then followed by 2 Hondas, Ron Turner and Corey Schweitzer. Mike Healy tries to work his way up through the field. He was well out of the top 10, is currently running in 6th place.
Well, the start at motocross can be everything. If you get a bad start, you've just got to work doubly hard, and that's what some of these riders are doing, including, look at Healy here, number 38 on the KTM. He has taken 5th and closing on Ron Turner, the Honda, for the 4th position.
So Mike Healy charges his way up through the field, showing some of the skill. Really, in racing, you tend to seek your own level. So now he tries to close down on the 1X Honda. That belongs to Ron Turner. And Healy is right at the back end and charging up.
Well, you can see here why, when Healy became a free agent from Tajita, the Austrians at KTM were so anxious to sign the young man from nearby Costa Mesa, California. Had he not been involved in that little shot, he might be right up front.
Well, the challenge that Healy has is both fun and frustrating. Fun in that as you're charging your way up through the field, you get to pass a lot of people. But frustrating because you know as he gets around the number 1 machine of Ron Turner, you know that you really could have been up at the front if only for one mistake. And you're wondering, how far away is the front of the field moving from me as I'm having to fight with all these other machines?
Healy not the only rider that has recovered well from that opening crash. Greg Zitterkoff, number 28, has now moved up into the 6th position.
Well, Zitterkoff kind of used Healy as a point man, watching him as he moved his way through the field. You know, the tires they ride on are so important. Earlier, Steve filed this report.
As you've seen in our coverage of World of Outlaws sprint car racing, anytime you're racing on dirt, your choice of tires is absolutely critical. Now, with the sprinters, it's more the compound of the tire. How hard or how soft is it? In motocross, it's compound, but even more importantly, it's the actual tread design. Let's take a look at 4 distinctively different tires from the Pirelli inventory here. First of all, this tire right here is called their Hard Cross, and it's for tracks that are extremely hard, don't have much moisture in them. It's a soft compound to try to get hold of the dirt. And notice that the lugs are square on the tire. That means if you wear one side more than the other, you've got more right-hand turns. Let's say you can turn this tire around, mount it the other way, and use the other side of the tire. You'll get a little more life out of the tire, but you're going to have a disadvantage too. You'll still have a pretty good biting edge, but your braking edge will be worn away, and the brakes won't be quite as responsive, or the tire to the brakes. Now take a look at this tire. This is a step up here. You can see how the lugs are strategically arranged on the tire, and it's obvious that tire only wants to turn in one direction. And this is a very good old kind of a mud and sand tire. It'll get down and try to get you some grip, get a lot of sand packed in here so the tire doesn't just spin. Right now, here is really a sand tire. You can see how tall the knobs are on the tire to try to get as much grip as possible. Again, that is a reversible tire. Now, here is probably the most popular tire being run at Carlsbad this weekend because the track is sandy in places, there's soft dirt on top of hard pack, every condition you can imagine. And this tire should handle just about all of those elements. You'll see an awful lot of these in competition this weekend. Now, anyone who's ever had to mount one of these tires home in your garage or at the races knows how many new words you can learn. Well, Dave Urban here has designed a machine. This is the first time we've seen it. A year ago, all of the guys, even the pro mechanics, were mounting their own tires, and it's very easy to ruin one of these expensive magnesium rims. Well, Dave has designed this plate attached with these cables so that the rim is in place and cannot possibly turn. You can see it's clamped right down to that plate. And in just about 3 minutes with this electrically powered machine, he's got a battery on it. Go ahead, Dave, and give her a spin. He can knock a tire right off of that wheel. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of guys over here that used to change their own tires that now line up for Dave with $8 in their hand because not only are they not going to bash their knuckles, their wheel is going to come out in one piece as well. This machine will be available for the marketplace, I'm told, in a few months. And I think it's going to be very popular in motorcycle shops and racetracks all over the country. Boy, that's neat, Dave.
Well, out on the circuit, Mike Healy on 38 has now moved up to 2nd place, and a fight has developed for 3rd between 66 Scott Brown, 1X Ron Turner, and 425 Derek Brown. Now remember, the Browns were both the early leaders in this race, and then finally Manley got past. Now Healy goes into 2nd place, and this fight developed for 3rd. The 66 machine, that's Scott Brown. Ron Turner comes down on the Honda right behind him, and look at there. Mike Healy has pulled to a stop. I don't know what's wrong, but it's not running now.
And to compound the problem, it's happened on the very last lap with Healy on the move. So he's going to push that bike off. No, he's going to try to restart it. And even with that strong right leg, you can see all the compression in that 350cc KTM. So number 38, Mike Healy, he is done in the first moto.
Well, when he drops out, that gives a definite advantage to those who are battling for 3rd. Here is Brian Manley. He's the leader and unchallenged at the moment. The fight now is for 2nd place. Scott Brown on 66 is currently 2nd, followed by Derek Brown. Manley all alone. Look at the tremendous lead that he has. He enjoys this lead and the checkered flag and the win, totally unchallenged. So Brian Manley on his Kawasaki wins it. The fight continues for 2nd.
And that is number 66, Scott Brown, number 425, Derek Brown, both on their Kawasaki's. Behind them, the distinctive sound of the 4-stroke machine, the Honda Ron Turner 1X.
And 66, Scott Brown charges for the line now and finishes in 2nd. Derek Brown comes across in 3rd, and Ron Turner finishes in 4th. So the results are now final and official. Manley, followed by Scott Brown, then Derek, then Ron Turner, and Greg Zitterkoff with a nice ride after that first lap accident. And as a result of this finish, here are the points. Of course, there's one more moto yet to go, and any one of these in the top 5 could win. Now, let's go down to Steve Evans.
Well, Paul, Brian Manley, number 29, wheels in here after successfully getting this big horse around Carlsbad today. A fine job. Great ride.
Thank you very much. It was pretty tough out there. Scott Brown put a little pressure on me in the beginning. I thought it was going to be a long race, but it ended up something must have gone wrong with Scott. I just felt like I could ride real smooth, and I rode consistent the whole way.
Well, Mike Healy was picking you up, and then he had problems of his own. He's parked as well.
Yeah, I saw him. He was a ways back there. I saw him picking up a little time on me, but I thought I better just lay low a little bit, not push it and make any mistakes, because he had a lot of ground to make up.
Well, there must be a lot of dirt flying out there when even the winner has encrusted lower lip.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, especially these 500s. You're going up that uphill, and they throw a really big roost at you. So it's kind of hard to see when you're behind the guy. And it kind of hurts sometimes, too, but they're a lot of fun.
The only guys you're usually behind are a lap down.
Yeah. There's some good guys out here.
Indeed. We'll see you in moto number 2. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Paul?
Well, Steve, here's second place, Scott Brown. You were really having to fight to get up that far.
Well, I got the whole shot, and I was feeling pretty good. I sprained my ankle last weekend, and started giving me problems around the third lap. I'm just trying to hang in there. I got the series point lead, and I'm just trying to hang in there and get the series today.
Running this course reverse, how much difference does it make?
It's a little bit different than normal. You get used to it, though. I feel pretty used to it now.
Were you surprised at Healy's performance in there?
No, and Healy's always a strong rider. He always rides good.
And when he suddenly was gone?
I saw his bike break down there at the bottom of the hill. He's having tough luck this season.
Tough luck. That's an understatement. Here we see Healy pushing his broken bike back to the pits, and he better hurry because the start of the 125 Pro Moto number 2 is not far away. He's involved there, too. In fact, at the gate, already some early arrivals. Very pensive. Everybody trying to get their thoughts together, concentrating on one thing, get the best start possible.
Up a little bit further north at Carlsbad. The 125 cc's are on the line, ready for moto number 2.
Become a top motocross star, you can even afford one of those yachts at the Hotel Del. All right, to watch is Denny Stevenson finished 5th on his cow in the first moto. And number 2, Mike Young on the Kajiva. Well, Mike finished 4th in moto number 1. That garnered him a lot of points. In full battle dress, we forget how young these riders are, Paul. Most of them haven't reached their 18th birthday.
One of the older ones in the group finished 3rd in the first moto on 18D. That's Todd DeHoop. He is 22 years old and hails from the state of Michigan, so he's here to take on the Californians at Carlsbad.
And number 26, you remember Michael Craig, the strong finish on his Yamaha. In fact, he grabbed the 2nd slot with a good start here. He's got an excellent chance of winning here at Carlsbad today.
And, of course, the winner of moto number 1 was Jeff Emig on the 47 Kawasaki. He comes out of Independence, Missouri, and, of course, he has the psychological advantage of having the most points going into moto number 2.
And we're happy to report that at the gate is number 38, Mike Healy. He is in the field, his crew back in their pits working on the 350 for moto number 2. Healy right now trying to make up for not a very good start earlier in the 125 Pros.
It's a gigantic field, over 40 bikes now streamed down for that first corner. Can they all get through nice and clean? So far, everything running smooth, and they're off, ready to race here at Carlsbad.
And just what the field didn't need is 47J Jeff Emig getting a sensational start and leading right off the bat.
Reading the way the gate is going to drop is so key to this sport, and Emig called it absolutely perfect. Emig out in front, Todd DeHoop closing down in 2nd place, followed by 360 Denny Stevenson.
Another rider with a brilliant start, number 26, Michael Craig on his Yamaha. He's followed by 23, Chris Young, then Kerry Mulligan, a new player. He's on number 178. Ron Turner, the Honda Star 1X. He's right in there, and 64J, James Dobb.
There's Todd DeHoop currently running in 2nd. Jeff Emig just goes over the top of the hill. Now you get a good idea of how far Emig and DeHoop have managed to pull away from the 3rd place bike. That's Stevenson on 360, currently riding in 3rd. And Emig appears to be pulling a little bit away from DeHoop. Now DeHoop closes down, coming down the hill. We take a look at this battle for 3rd place. 360, that's Stevenson, and Michael Craig rides on 26.
And they both have fallen a considerable distance behind the guys right up front, Todd DeHoop and Jeff Emig.
When you get involved in a battle with one another, often that battle will tend to pull you away from the whole stream of the race, and that's what's happened here. As Craig tries desperately to catch Stevenson, And watch DeHoop. DeHoop forces his way past Emick. Can he hold on? DeHoop takes the lead.
And for the first time among the 125cc pros, we have got a yellow machine out front, a Suzuki race bike. Oh, but is Emick through yet? No, I don't think so.
Emick's not at all pleased with that situation as he tries to close down. That battle for third place is also now beginning to carry them forward as Emick tries a little wider line, pulls it all the way up onto the bank as he chases the 18 machine of Todd DeHoop.
And look how more maneuverable these bikes are, how easier they are to fly than the 500s we saw a bit ago.
Todd DeHoop out in front, but Jeff Emick trying now desperately to catch up as Emick sets up just behind him. Both of these riders use approximately the same line as DeHoop out in front of the field, picked up the lead from Emick, and now there you see Michael Craig has picked up third place. Stevenson has dropped back to fourth position.
And number 23, Chris Young, is in the fifth spot. But back to our leaders. Jeff Emick.
Oh, Jeff almost loses it there, Steve.
You know, I don't know if he lost it there or he's trying for what they call a burn shot, trying to get a launch off of that dirt burn, and he didn't lose any time because of it. In fact, you see him right on the yellow fender of Todd DeHoop.
Well, Jeff Emick definitely used it to his advantage, and it very well may have been intentional to ride up on the berm and get a little faster speed coming off. Now, here's the points in the championship to date. Craig and Young are on the track right now. Smith, Schmidt, and Grudowski are not running here today. For an overall view of this situation, let's go again to Steve Evans.
Going into this final 125 Pro Moto of the entire CMC Golden State Nationals, Michael Craig, number 26, has a 20-point lead over Mike Young, number 2. Now, to win the final moto pays 40 points, so he can really pad that victory. Mike Young on number 2 has got to finish ahead of Mike Craig in this moto to have any shot at all at the overall title.
Well, out in front of the field is DeHoop, followed by Emick. Mike Craig currently runs in third, and Mike Young is riding well back in 7th place.
But all the fun is right up front. Watching Suzuki mounted Todd DeHoop and Kawasaki mounted Jeff Emick as they battle for the lead. And look at this on the outside. Goes Emick, and they get to go, and into the bridge goes Emick.
DeHoop still has the lead. Craig comes up to second, but Emick really slammed into the bridge. Well, it looks like he's okay. He's struggling. He's certainly hurt, but it looked like it could be a lot worse than this. He really flew off his bike and up and into that bridge. Now, look at that, the casualness. He reaches up. Still a lot of pain here. Jeff Emick, the leader, had just taken the lead back from DeHoop and then slammed up into the bridge.
Well, let's hope he's okay, but now there's another tremendous race for the lead. Todd DeHoop and Yamaha mounted Michael Craig. Here comes Craig on the white machine. He is picking up DeHoop, no question about it.
Well, Craig sees the possibility not only of the win here today, but the overall championship. He has that championship in his pocket right now as long as he stays ahead of Young. But he's saying to himself, boy, if I can get up there and catch DeHoop, I've got this Moto 1 as well, and he's closing in right now. DeHoop on 18 lies just ahead. On that corner under braking, it appears that Craig is able to catch up just a few more feet now. He tries the inside, tries to come alongside DeHoop. For the moment, Craig is ahead, and Craig picks up the lead. DeHoop back to second place.
Very aggressive riding on the part of number 26 on the Yamaha, Michael Craig. DeHoop may be fatiguing just a little bit, Paul. He doesn't look as smooth as he was earlier.
Michael Craig feeling and looking very strong as the 125cc Moto 2 continues. We'll be back.
Carlsbad, California. Jeff Emick is up and walking around after a horrendous encounter with a bridge. He's holding that left arm and headed for the ambulance. We'll follow up on that.
Well, here's the leaderboard to this point. Michael Craig picked up the lead when Emick fell from the bike, followed by DeHoop, Stevenson, Young, and Bolin. Out on the course itself, it is a fight for third place. And you're seeing the 360 machine of Stevenson as he tries to hold off the challenge.
And the challenge is being mounted by the yellow Suzuki, number 23 of Chris Young, who's riding so hard he shed the 2 right off of his number plate, Paul.
And just behind that, a nice battle for 5th place between Bolin and Mike Healy. Mike Healy, number 38, comes around and picks up 5th as he tries to charge his way up through this field.
He just pinched number 14, Colin Bolin, right up against the berm. There was no defense for Bolin.
Now remember, Mike Healy had a problem with his 350cc bike in the 500cc moto. moto, he may switch to now a 500cc machine for 500cc Moto 2.
All right, here's the race for third. The green Kawasaki 360 of Denny Stevenson, number 23, Chris Young on the Suzuki. And Chris Young is trying every line on this racetrack. Paul, he goes high, he goes low, in the middle, everything he could possibly do to pick up even an inch on Denny Stevenson, something he's not doing at the moment.
Stevenson has clear sailing in front of him. Todd DeHoop in second place is about 50 yards ahead, so he can ride whatever line he likes. At the same time, Young has to try and follow him and pick up the place where he may want to get past. At the same time, Mike Healy is closing down. There you see Healy come onto the screen as well, so the battle is third, fourth, and fifth, with Mike Healy in fifth, closing down on Chris Young.
And these riders will tell you, Paul, when you've got two bikes going at it like this, sometimes it's easier to be the second bike in the fight, as Chris Young is right now. That, of course, providing you have the power, because the fella up front, he doesn't know what you're going to do. You can watch him and set him up. He has a harder time defending you than you do on the offense.
There are other riders, of course, who feel that just having the clear course ahead gives them the luxury of placing the machine anywhere they want to ride, and that's what Stevenson has in front of him right now. But the key player is the number 38 machine. That's Mike Healy, who is using the course to his advantage, watching this fight up ahead, and no doubt thinking, as those two fight, if I can just pick my place, I can get by both of them. And there goes Young as he gets around Stevenson and picks up the position.
And here is also the 38 bike of Mike Healy. He saw that pass, and he tries to do the same thing.
So Chris Young now has third place. Mike Healy goes to the outside and continues his challenge. He tries to get Stevenson for fourth position, but can't get it done and stays in fifth.
Well, for Mike Healy, this is really a personal thing. He had a terrible outing in the first 125 Pro Moto. Right now, he's out to prove to himself, to his sponsors, and everybody else that he is a world-class rider.
Mike Healy rides in fifth, would like to get by Stevenson just ahead, but has a lot of work to do. That interval on the course means a great deal of effort to try and catch up, especially while Stevenson is still embroiled in that battle with Young.
But we're seeing terrific intermake competition here. You see the Suzukis, the Kawasaki's, the KTMs, the APKs, and that makes it just a wonderful rider's race.
Mike Healy looking for a chance. He comes up alongside Stevenson for the moment. Mike Healy has fourth. Stevenson comes back with a charge and takes the place back. Mike Healy now looking for a different line as he comes up behind Stevenson again. Stevenson holds him off. That's the 23 bike of Chris Young just ahead. Now here comes Healy once again. He forces his way past Stevenson, and Healy takes fourth and holds it. So Mike Healy, locked in a battle with Stevenson, continues to forge his way forward in this field. Mike Healy has been a wonderful story. Many of the fans here have been cheering him on all around the course as Mike Healy tries to work his way up to the front of the field. He now has in his sights the 23 machine of Chris Young. Stevenson drops back just a bit. So Mike Healy is definitely on the charge.
And he still has time, Paul, if he doesn't make a mistake, if he continues to ride like this, to win this thing.
And the fight here is for sixth place. Boland is riding in sixth. Mike Young on number 2 closes up and tries to catch Boland.
And this is not just your usual battle for a sixth position. Mike Young on the number 2 bike is still thinking Golden State Championship. He has a shot at that. But out in front still is Michael Craig, who has a shot not only at winning overall today, but the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals 125 title. We'll be back to Carlsbad right after this.
From Canada. In the meantime, a little further north of San Diego at Carlsbad, the battle is definitely underway as number 2, Mike Young, tries to hold off Denny Stevenson in a fight for 5th place. The leaderboard at the moment has Michael Craig not only leading this moto, but in the lead for the championship as well, followed by DeHoop, Healy, Chris Young, and then Mike Young.
While we're away, it was Mike Young finally getting by Talon Boland. And that gave him the 5th position. Right now, he has his sights at the number 23, Chris Young, to try to move up into that 4th spot. And here we can see that number 2 bike in the 5th spot. And coming behind him, having a tough time with the hoop-de-doos on the cow, is 360. That's Denny Stevenson. He is right now in 6th as we go on to the last lap of this super exciting 125cc Pro Moto. To check up on Jeff Emig, who had that tough crash, here is Paul Page. Paul?
Steve, Jeff gave us a pretty good start at least, and it was a good battle for a lap or so. You're favoring your left elbow. What happened to you?
I was going to make a pass on Todd DeHoop and the clip bars, and I went down.
You had to be pretty pleased with the start you got and the way you were running in the first lap at least.
Oh yeah, I was feeling real good. I was wanting to pass him back and get the lead, but it didn't work out.
That's racing, right?
That's it.
All right, we'll see you again soon.
Well, I tell you, his injuries could have been a lot more serious than that. That was one scary collision with an immovable object. And here is number 26, Michael Craig, going for the win. He has picked up not only the win today, but the overall Golden State Series crown. Todd DeHoop finishes in second, Mike Healy in third, and here comes Mike Young. A final wave of the checkered flag as Young finishes in fourth place after that tremendous battle with Stevenson that he was involved in. So here's the official final overall results. Craig followed by Todd DeHoop, Mike, then Chris Young, and Denny Stevenson. And in the championship itself, well, there are your point totals. Michael Craig is the overall champion, followed by Mike Young and Rodney Smith. Let's go to Steve. Well, there's no more satisfying way, Michael Craig, to win a points championship than to take the checkered flag in the last moto of the series.
Yeah, I feel good. I know if I get a pretty good start, I can get up there and win it. They told me before the race started that I had a chance to win the championship, and I kind of tried not to think about that, but I felt good, and like I said, thanks to my mechanic, Bob Oliver. He backed me up, built me a good bike, and he's a super guy. He's the one that put me in his winning circle right now.
When Emmett was up front, you knew you were ahead of Young. How hard were you going to chase him?
They were right in front of me. I made a couple mistakes. I knew one of them two were going to make a bobble, so I kind of kicked back there and waited for the bobble and then proceed from there. And I think I was just kind of waiting around.
Smart riding, I'd call it.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Congratulations, Golden State Nationals champ.
Thanks.
Well, you worked hard for it. Paul Swift, second place in this moto.
Well, here's second place, Todd DeHoop. You got to at least feel good about second place. I mean, you fought with everybody today.
Yeah, I was out there trying my best. Seems like every time I look up, there's someone new to battle with. I was out there riding as hard as I could, and Mike was coming up from behind, and I knew he's wanting to win the championship. I knew he was probably pushing it really hard, so I was just trying to stay ahead of him and ride my, as best I could. The pace was getting really fast, and I was trying. He rides here quite a bit, and he knows the track real well. I'm from Michigan, so this is quite new for me. It's a new experience, and riding with Mike is always fun because we're good friends, and it's a lot of fun.
Second place, Todd DeHoop. Let's go to third, and Steve Evans.
Well, Mike Healy, this day has been anything but dull for you.
It's been a challenge all day. You get up there, go fast, and brake, and start it all over again. So.
Tell me about this moto.
This moto started off kind of slow. I got a bad start and had to race with the back, Packers. And then, once I got through them and got my momentum going, I caught up to these guys and started running with their pace, which was a lot nicer than running the slow pace.
Oh, yeah. Now, tell me about the 500 to come. Are you going to be in it?
Yeah, we did rebuild the 500, so I will be there.
Not the 350, but a 500?
No, the 350. We rebuilt that.
All right. Well, good luck there.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
That'll be coming right up. Huh, Paul?
You betcha, Steve. The 500cc bikes already beginning to make their appearance at the starting gate. We'll be back with Moto 2, the 500cc's, right after this.
Raceway. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page, and now it's time to determine the 500cc pro champion in the CMC Dodge Truck Golden State Nationals, and they're at the gate.
And of course, this is a key event, not only in the overall event of the day, but in the overall championship. There on number 28 is Greg Zitterkoff. Now, he rides the KTM, and remember in the first moto, he finished 5th. Right now, he is 2nd in the overall series points.
Ron Turner, number 1X, is not a contender for the series, but he's out to prove today how competitive a 4-stroke Honda motorcycle can be. He was 4th in moto number 1.
And moto number 1 was a total sweep for Kawasaki, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. This was the 3rd place finisher, Derek Brown. He is now lying 5th in the overall series points.
And like all the riders at the gate, just tweaking the throttle, trying to keep the engine running clean so they don't foul a spark plug. Now here is the rider who finished 2nd in the earlier moto, also Kawasaki mounted, and also named Brown. This is Scott Brown, number 66, the points leader in the series.
And the top machine in Moto number 1, of course, was a Kawasaki as well. It was ridden by Brian Manley. Now, Brian really had to work his way through the field to come up with that number 1 position. He started the day in 9th position in the overall points. Now he lies in 4th. As he shifts his machine back and forth, position it's just exactly where he wants it in the gate so that he can get the best possible start. All riders in position. They look out to the starter. Eyes now drop to the gate as the final signal being given. The starter checking each of the riders. They inch forward. The 500cc run. Moto number 2 of the day at Carlsbad. The gate drops and they head for the first turn.
And you can hear that 4-stroke Honda of Ron Turner out front. The red number 1X. What a beautiful gate job he had. Also a brilliant start for the Kawasaki of Brian Manley, number 29.
And Manley has the rest of the world on his heels as they're still bunched up, though safely through the first couple of corners. Out in front is Ron Turner. The rest come through. One bike down, man off of it, almost gets hit by a couple of others. That's the 24X machine of Robin Dolman.
He tried to cut that left-hander, Paul, and it just didn't work for him. He is A-OK. In fact, he's got the motorcycle up and going to try to get back in to this final moto of the Golden State Series.
He's still going to have to straighten the handlebars. It appears they got bent in that altercation on the 3rd turn. And number 28, that's the machine of Greg Zitterkoff, goes wide, doesn't really pick up any advantage in that maneuver.
And just about getting it upside down in that 3rd position, number 425, Derek Brown. Greg Zitterkoff just behind him. He makes up a little bit for getting high in that one corner.
Zitterkoff continues his pursuit now of Greg Brown. It is a battle for 3rd place. Out in front of the field is Ron Turner. Brian Manley rides in 2nd position. The fight is here for 3rd as Zitterkoff tries to close down now. Catches up, and Zitterkoff now right on the back end of Derek Brown.
And Zitterkoff on that bike that is built right here in Southern California, and everybody who has ridden it finds it to be a very competitive and friendly machine. It cooperates with you. It handles well. It's got a broad power band, and in a 500cc machine, that's very important.
But for the moment, he can't catch the Kawasaki of Derek Brown. Fight continues for 3rd place. Zitterkoff trying to catch Brown. Out in front of the field, it's still Ron Turner. 2nd place is Brian Manley. And Zitterkoff, for the moment, lies back just a bit and does not challenge Brown.
Well, our former leader, 1X Ron Turner on the red Honda 4-stroke, he has been pushed back to the 2nd position. Number 29, Brian Manley, has started to assert himself on the big, powerful Kawasaki.
Manley showing some of the same style he displayed in the first moto. So now it's Manley, followed by Ron Turner, Derek Brown, Greg Zitterkoff, Scott Brown, and Mike Healy now lies back in the 6th position.
And here we can see that interval right back to 6th. Number 38, Mike Healy on the KTM. Now, Healy is challenging Scott Brown, number 66 on the Cal, for the 5th position.
Healy tries to close down. All of the leaders still maintaining pretty close contact on one another. Any one of these top 6 could be a winner at the end of this day. And look at Healy as he works his way past the 66 machine of Scott Brown and picks up 5th place. So Healy, just like in moto number 1, definitely on the fly, and his target is definitely the number 1 spot.
And Healy certainly has a lot of energy for a man who has ridden 4 motos today. Most of the competition out there has only ridden in the 500cc class. Not so Mike.
As they come flying down the hill now, Zitterkoff rides in 4th. But Healy and Scott Brown are beginning to close up now. They're right at the back end of Zitterkoff's machine. Zitterkoff knows that Healy is there. Scott Brown is just behind Healy, hoping to take advantage of whatever maneuver Healy might use and hopefully get past as well. So Zitterkoff now has to hold off the challenge of both Healy and Brown. And as he maneuvers, he is beginning to catch up to the 425 machine of Derek Brown. Derek Brown currently rides in 3rd place.
Well, Mike Healy, Paul, is showing us just how maneuverable that 350cc bike is, and I'm sure he'd like to thank his crew for fixing that machine. The last thing he needed was a more powerful 500cc bike that he is not happy with.
In Moto 1, you may remember, the machine really worked well until it finally gave out, but while it was running, it was an excellent machine, well suited to running on this course. Now Zitterkoff comes in to close on the 425 machine of Derek Brown. It is a fight for third, and Zitterkoff for the moment has it. He's passed decidedly, and at the same time, Derek Brown has to look back because he knows Mike Healy is right there.
Mike Healy is definitely right there on the KTMs. We've got a lot of great competition from Kawasaki, from ATK, from KTM. Ooh, they get together there just a bit.
Mike Healy runs in 5th place as he tries to catch Derek Brown running in 4th. Zitterkoff was able to move up to 3rd. The fight has centered right here. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th for the last couple of laps.
And here comes Mike Healy, that number 38 bike, challenging for the 4th position, and he has got it.
So Mike Healy, just as in Moto number 1, charges his way up through the field. So now Mike Healy has to think about those that lie just ahead.
And closing in the number 66 bike of Scott Brown. He's moving in on Derek Brown for that 5th position. Here comes Scott Brown on the outside of the turn, and he takes him.
So Scott Brown now has 5th place and tacks on the back end of Mike Healy. As Healy works his way up through the field, now Manley is still the leader. The battle is centered right here. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and it's been a terrific fight. Now, not just the fight on the course, but the overall CMC Golden State Point Series. There are the points as they stand right now in the 500cc battle. Brown, followed by Zitterkoff, Hicks, Manley, and Tim McClintock. Now, Manley's going to pick up a whole bunch of points if he can maintain his current lead in Moto number 2. Scott Brown, the current points leader, runs in 5th place, trying to chase down Mike Healy. In 3rd is number 28, Greg Zitterkoff. He is currently 2nd in the point standings. Now let's look back and see the interval between the 28 machine of Zitterkoff and the 66 machine of Scott Brown. Well, Brown lined back about 25 yards. Now, let's go to Steve Evans for an update on the point situation.
If number 28, Greg Zitterkoff, is to win the overall Golden State Nationals 500cc crown, he must finish 15 places ahead of number 66, Scott Brown, in this final moto of the series. So it appears right now that all Scott has to do is to keep that Kawasaki motor running and to stay on the seat to be the champion.
Well, that Kawasaki motor is not only running, it's doing a splendid job running in 4th place, but Mike Healy closing down right behind.
You know, Paul, with the power of these 500 machines, riders would like to sit down on the bike more for traction rather than just spin in that rear wheel. But this course has become so dry and so chopped up, seldom do they get that luxury.
A long day here at Carlsbad. Now, Greg Zitterkoff is closing down, and Zitterkoff comes around the 66 machine of Scott Brown. So Zitterkoff picks up 3rd, but can he hold on? Zitterkoff already being challenged by Scott Brown. There is Brown riding to the outside, now closing down once again on Zitterkoff, and they're closing down on Ron Turner. Zitterkoff right up behind 2nd place Ron Turner right now. Manley is well out in front of this fight. It's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th running together, and Zitterkoff goes by Turner and picks up 2nd place. So Zitterkoff, with a sudden spurt of energy, has been able to move up in the field, and now look at Brown. Brown comes up to challenge Zitterkoff. Zitterkoff turns around, tries to find out where Brown is, and just in that move, it is Brown that moves into 2nd place. What a tremendous fight we're seeing here as the Kawasaki of Brown moves up into 2nd place behind the leader Manley and begins to pull away now from Zitterkoff.
And it appears that the 2-stroke Kawasaki just has a little better throttle control than the Honda 4-stroke. The Honda likes big, heavy going. On this slick racetrack, I got a feeling the 2-stroke is the bike to have, Paul.
Well, it's the wonderful combination of engines and riders that makes this 500cc race great. We'll be back with the finish right after this.
They say that when the going gets tough, the tough get going.
100cc Moto number 2 here at Carlsbad Raceway. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page, and you couldn't ask for more variety. 2 Kawasaki's on the top, then an ATK, then a KTM, and then a Honda, Paul.
Well, Brian Manley on the Kawasaki has the track all to himself. That's what a leader looks for. And boy, he has to feel great. In fact, a little bit of showmanship coming on this last lap. He's not driving as conservative as maybe you or I would have, but that's why he is the champion he is. On his way to a checkered flag, totally totally unchallenged. Look, nobody behind him. It's as if he's practicing alone on the course, but this is a 500cc Moto 2 race. He's closing down on a back marker, but what lies ahead and is so important is the checkered flag. And there she is, number 29, Brian Manley wins Moto number 2 here at Carlsbad.
And that moves him way up in the CMC Golden State National Series final points. Look at this race for 6. Derek Brown and Mike Brown.
Mike Brown takes the jump just behind Derek Brown. The Kawasaki leads up the hill. The fight is for 6th place. It is between 2 different Browns, Derek and Mike. Can Derek hold off? Still working the final lap. Manley has already won it. Gives you an idea of how far ahead Manley was. Derek Brown, couple more turns, and they'll see the checkered flag. Can Derek Brown hold Mike off? The rest of the positions being decided unchallenged now. This is the battle on the race course, and it is for 6th place. 4:25 is Derek Brown. Mike Brown takes a final run at it, but he can't get it done. Derek Brown finishes in 6th. Mike Brown comes across in 7th.
And what a dominating performance we saw in Moto number 2 by Brian Manley, number 29 in the Kawasaki. Here is the points that he amassed, followed by Scott Brown, Zitterkoff, Derek Brown, and Ron Turner in that order. For the overall series, well, you got to congratulate Scott Brown. He won it. Zitterkoff moved up into 2nd. Manley moved right into 3rd. Let's go to Paul with Brian.
It was a nice fight behind you, but a clear sail all the way out in front.
Yeah, it's not very good for the spectators, but it's the way I like it.
All right, let's go to 2nd place now, and Steve Evans.
Well, Paul, he may be 2nd in this moto, but Scott Brown is the Golden State Nationals 500cc champ. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
You rode a smart race.
Yeah, I sprained my ankle last week, and first moto I just kind of rode around. That moto I started to get on a little bit, and I tweaked it again. But it feels real good to win anyway, though.
Well, the only thing more beat up than the racetrack are the guys riding on it. It's tough to go out with the big bikes and be last on the day.
Yeah, it is. The track got pretty slippery, and the little sharp edge bumps out there. It got pretty technical.
Again, great job. You are the champ. Paul?
Greg Zitterkoff, 3rd place in the run in this moto, 2nd place in the points. Really in that points fight all the way to the end. The ATK and the 4-stroker paid off pretty well.
Yeah, it worked really well. Scott and them just went a little faster than I did today, and that's what they won the championship because of that.
The way it develops power and the way you have to ride with everyone else, does it create a different approach for you?
Yeah, it does. On some tracks, it's really hard. Like last week, the track had a lot of jumps, and this weighs quite a bit more, so it's really hard for me to do the jumps. But on a track like this, it's pretty equal because, you know, it's pretty flat and there isn't too many big jumps, so it works pretty good on a track like this.
There's your 3rd place finisher in Moto number 2 and 2nd in the championship.
Boy, Greg makes it sound easy, doesn't he? Well, it wasn't for Scott Brown, who won the 500cc crown. As far as the 125s are concerned, well, of course, our congratulations to Michael Craig. For Paul Page, this is Steve Evans saying so long from Carlsbad, California.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John D.